What's going on, everybody? In today's video, I want to look at what Bitcoin's doing. We did see a pullback over the weekend, which also caused a pullback for these miners today on Monday. And in this video, I'm going to go over my expectations for the week. We do have some important events coming up. I'm going to show you guys Bitcoin, Cleanspark, and I'll touch on Iris Energy on the chart as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you got something useful out of this video, and let's get started. And first off, Bitcoin. Now in my Discord last week, I did mention that I'm looking for 41 to 40,000, and we're now just a hair over 41,000. The good thing here is that RSI from being so overbought is now getting towards neutral. And I think anyone really looking at Bitcoin wanting to get in at 44, 45,000 now is a great chance. Of course, we may break 40 and get back into the high 38s, but I do think with Bitcoin pulling back a little bit from its highs, now is a good time to add. So anyone really looking for that dip buy opportunity, I think now is a great time to start adding to Bitcoin again. Keep in mind, if we do break our psychological 40,000, we're probably going to go back to test our previous resistance, which is right around 38,200 or so, which is also right around where the 50 MA lies. I do personally think buying from 42 to 38 will be the way to go, and while it of course can happen, I highly doubt that we're going to get to the low 30s, but we'll see how that prediction plays out. Now let's take a look at Cleanspark, and I was anticipating a pullback here, and for that reason I did sell some 1250 strike covered calls expiring December 15th. Because Cleanspark's RSI was so overbought, I found it very unlikely that 1250 was going to hit by this Friday. And last time we were this overbought here back in summer, when we had our run from $4 to the high 7s, we were similarly overbought and we did see a sell-off. Like I said in my last video, I don't see this sell-off being as severe, but I do think now's a great time for Cleanspark to fill its gap in the 7s. And if we do fill this gap and get back to about 750, I could see a bounce. This was a previous resistance, and if we do start filling that gap, I think it's a great time to start buying some Cleanspark and even consider selling some cash secured puts at a $5 strike. And I know some of you in the comments do mention cash secured puts and covered calls. This is the opposite side of actually buying puts and buying calls. And I think it's a great strategy to get some passive income, some premium, while also getting the opportunity to either buy some cheaper shares or sell shares if they get to a higher price. But let me know if you guys are interested in me talking more about selling covered calls and selling cash secured puts. I do think they're good strategies when the chart either becomes overbought for covered calls or when the chart becomes oversold for cash secured puts. But Cleanspark is now in the 850s after running up all the way to 10. It has given the RSI the chance to get towards neutral, however we're not there yet, and I do think a pullback to fill this gap is pretty likely at this point. We also have some upcoming events, the FOMC meeting and CPI coming up, so I do think it'll be quite a volatile week. And if Bitcoin does come to 40,000 to test it, I do think at that point Cleanspark would be filling this gap, but we'll have to see how that plays out. I do think it's a great buying opportunity if Cleanspark does attempt to fill its gap, and like I said, I don't expect a sell-off as severe as we saw in the summer when we almost reached 8. And I do think after this gap is filled, we'll either bounce off of this previous resistance I mentioned a second ago, or we'll come down to the high 6s. But I personally think the 3s, the 4s, potentially even the 5s are very unlikely to ever see again for Cleanspark, but we'll see if I eat my own words there. Now, Iris Energy is another one I'm watching for a potential entry point. This is another one I also have some shares of, and I'm looking to add on Iris. And this stock, similar to Cleanspark, had a huge run, became very overbought, and now we're pulling back. It does look like we're testing our previous long-standing ascending support that was established back in December 2022. And before this run-up we experienced, we did come down and break this support line, and it took about 2 months for us to finally come back up and be above this support line. Now what we have to see is if this support line is going to hold or if it's going to break and we're going to come down towards our 50 and 200 MA. With Iris Energy, we are still waiting for a golden cross, and one thing I'm watching for over the week is if we do break this ascending support, we are probably going to try to create a downward channel, a descending channel, at which point we may see the low 4s, mid 4s, and I think that would be a great time to start buying some Iris stock, or IREN. And as I said, guys, we do have the FOMC. There's going to be December 12th to 13th. And the market expects the Fed to continue its pause, but it's going to be really important to listen to the wording of the Fed. Are they optimistic about inflation? Are they optimistic with the recent CPI print that we're going to get right before the Fed meeting? Those are going to be things you want to listen to. And CPI is coming out the 12th, the first day of the meeting. And I'm sure the Fed already knows what the date is going to be. So CPI is going to be another big thing to look out for. If we see it into the 2s for the first time, that'll be huge for the market and we might see a rally. And it would indicate that all that work from the Fed raising rates over this year is really continuing to push CPI down, and they can continue their pause and not have to raise again. I think with these high rates maintained, we will continue to see a lower and lower CPI, PPI, and PCE, and the Fed won't have to raise rates again, and the market expects that as well. What we will see next is Fed rate cuts, probably around mid-2024. And if we get some surprising reads in CPI to the downside, we may see Fed rate cuts even sooner. But my expectation is probably towards the mid-2024, after we get a few more CPI reads out of the way and get closer to that 2%, if not at 2%. But look out for CPI coming out December 12th. It is going to shape expectations around the FOMC meeting. But thanks for watching, guys. Let me know when you're planning on entering either Cleanspark, Iris, or Bitcoin. I do think we'll have some good opportunities to take advantage of the dips this week as we approach the Fed meeting and CPI coming out. But thanks as always for watching, guys. Let me know what you're doing in the market this week, what you're planning to add, if you have any option strategies. And thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you later.